Hey everybody, Pastor Alton here. I just thought I'd check in with everybody, make sure you're doing okay, and just sort of let you know what's going on at Knox this week and in the next coming weeks. And I also wanted to talk about how you might be feeling, how I'm feeling, what's going on in the world today. It is absolutely crazy out there right now. This is something we've never experienced, at least I've never experienced in my lifetime. And so we don't know how to handle it. And people are going crazy, especially in terms of buying toilet paper. So some of you might have 18 rolls, like bags of rolls of toilet paper in your living room, packed up to the ceiling. Some of us have none at all. My wife went to 4 different stores, didn't find a single roll of toilet paper, although I hear they're now restocked. And this brings me to a few observations that I think might be helpful for us over the next few weeks. And the first is that fear is normal. This is something new. This is different, and and quite honestly, we're afraid. A fear is an emotion, and emotions are okay. It's what you do with your emotions that really counts. So if you are afraid, that's okay. That is normal. The second thing I'd like to say is that a spirit of fear, however, can be dangerous. And so fear is an emotion, but a spirit of fear is when fear settles deep down into your bones. It permeates your mind. It starts to even alter your spirit. As disciples of Christ, we are not given a spirit of fear. Actually, the scriptures teach us in 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And so I'd like us to dwell on that as we are afraid over the coming weeks, and maybe your kids are afraid, maybe your parents are afraid. Remind them and remind yourself constantly that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but He's given us a spirit of power, the power to make decisions that will affect everybody else around us, which we're doing, the spirit of love. There's a lot of stores that have closed down voluntarily, and I believe it's now legislation they should be. But even before that, they decided to close down, risking their profit, risking their business, risking even their reputation with some. I was reading online a certain barbershop in town had closed down, and patrons were lined up at the door when they said we're closed down. The patrons started to get really angry and upset. But what we've learned is that the best way outside of washing our hands, practicing cleanliness, of keeping this at bay is social isolation. And so schools are closed down, certain programs are closed down. We've closed down Knox for the next 2 weeks, at least meeting publicly. And a lot of businesses and restaurants are also changing the way they do things. Take out only instead of eat in, all in an attempt to try to postpone the spread of COVID-19 and to allow our doctors and our nurses and those in leadership to be able to deal with the cases we do have. So, a spirit of power, we have tremendous power in listening to this sound advice. A spirit of love, we do it out of concern for those who are more vulnerable. Because let's be honest, if I get COVID-19, I'm probably fine in a couple of weeks. But if one of my 90-year-old parishioners gets COVID-19, it's a very different story. And thirdly, a spirit of sound mind. I mean, a sound mind. That sounds really mundane, really practical somehow, not very spiritual, but actually in a spirit of fear, in a culture of fear that we're living in right now, a sound mind is an extremely powerful thing. And so remember that while we're taking precautions, we're doing so with a sound mind. We're doing so with a judgment that is prudent. We're doing so believing that we're doing the right thing. And so fear is okay. It's an emotion. It's okay to be afraid. But a spirit of fear is not something that's of God. And thirdly, a sound mind is of God. And so if you're making the choice to not come to church as we've done, if you're making the choice to kind of stay at home, wash your hands, help out everybody else around you, well, that's something that comes from God. That is putting others first. And as a believer, as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, that's what we do. We put others first. I want to also remind you that if you need anything, the church is here for you. Certainly, we've got limitations, but we can overcome just about any obstacle. Make sure that you're checking in with those who are more vulnerable, making sure that even though we're in social isolation and we can't meet in person the way we once did, that you're checking in through email or social media or a good old-fashioned phone call. It's just really important at this time that we stay close, even as physically we're not so close. And I'd also like to remind you that we will be live streaming right here from my living room. Jerry, our music leader, is going to bring his guitar. I'll be here in my cool wheelchair, and we're going to do the whole worship the way we normally would, right here in this spot. So the welcome, the announcements, which admittedly there aren't a lot, the prayers, the sermon, the music, it's all going to be here, live streamed. And then, of course, you can go back later, or if you can't watch it live at 10:30, you can check it out later. And, of course, it'll be loaded to YouTube as well. So please stay in touch. Know that we are still the church, even if we don't meet for that hour in person on Sunday. God is still God above. And at the end of the day, when we band together and support each other, we'll take care of each other, and we'll get through this. Well, thanks for listening. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.